If you want to take awesome photos with your DJI Mini 2 drone and then edit them quickly and easily so you can post them quick smart, then don't go away. Hey guys, and welcome back to the channel where we review tech related to making YouTube videos and other gear tips and tricks videos just like this one. So if you're liking this content, be sure to hit that subscribe button and the bell so you don't miss out on any new videos. So like you, one of the main reasons I got the DJI Mini 2 drone, other than to hoon around and have a fun time flying it, was to take some cool video footage. But recently I found myself using it more and more to take photos, so I could post some cool and unique angles on my Instagram and Facebook feeds. You know what I mean? The sorts of shots that will make your friends and family go, wow, that's cool. How did he get that picture? Here's a few examples of shots I've taken recently. The majority of these I've posted on Instagram or Facebook stories, hence the aspect ratio is 9:16. And we'll get into that a little bit more when I show you the editing process. Anyway, I'm pretty happy with how these turned out, and I've had quite a few positive comments from people, and honestly, they were more simple to do than you'd think. So if you want shots like these, then stick around and I'll show you how to do it super easily, even if you've had no experience in this area before. And make sure you stick around until the end where I share 3 bonus tips on how to maximize your results. Now, amazing drone photos are nothing new these days. We'll all see them on our feed, but generally from professionals or from the likes of the DJI Instagram account or places like that. Well, I got to thinking that even though I currently don't have the opportunity to fly directly over a live volcano or remote island for an amazing shot, I can actually get some cool shots of my own city and country, ones that I know my friends and family would appreciate because they're places that they know, but have probably never seen it from an aerial perspective. But having said that, it's often easier said than done, and I didn't want to spend hours playing with settings, learning editing software and stuff like that. And I'm sure you don't want to either. So in this video, I'm going to show you my method for taking and editing awesome photos with your DJI Mini 2 drone, guaranteed. So let's get into it. First of all, gear. Now I have my trusty DJI Mini 2 drone and my iPhone. That's it. I don't have and I'm not using ND filters or anything fancy like that. So if you have a drone, in my case the DJI Mini 2, you're good to go. If you've got another drone like the DJI Spark, the Air 2, the Mavic Pro, well, then you're more than equipped for this task. Now if you're looking to pick up the Mini 2, I'll put a link in the description below so you can check it out. And you don't need a computer. We'll do all the editing on the phone. I have an iPhone, but an Android phone will work just as well. As for software, I'm using a mobile version of Lightroom, but I'll show you how to do the same thing on the phone with just the editing tools that come with the phone. Nothing else needed. In fact, most of the time I use just that. Next, you want to adjust a couple of settings on your Mini 2. Now, don't worry if you're not experienced with manual controls, we aren't going to use them. Everything is on auto. Yep, that's right, auto. But there are a couple of global settings I need you to change first. So once you've got your drone fired up and connected to your controller, this is what I want you to do. And no, you don't have to have taken off just yet, but if you have and it's already in the air, then don't worry, this will just take a minute. So what I need you to do is make sure you're in photo mode as opposed to video mode, then click on the 3 dots on the top right of your screen and then click on camera. Scroll down until you see format and select JPEG. I usually do this instead of JPEG plus RAW as we're editing these on our phone and we don't need the RAW file to work with. Plus the RAW file is very large and it'll fill up your memory card faster. Then go down to size and select 4:3. I choose the size over the 16:9 aspect ratio as it'll capture more of the available frame and it'll give you more picture real estate to work with when we edit. Next, go down a little bit more until you see Auto Sync HD Photos and turn that on. That, among other things, will make sure the panoramic shots you capture are automatically added to your camera roll on your phone, which we will access later. When you've done that, go across to Control and scroll down until you see the Allow Upward Gimbal Rotation option and click that to turn it on. What that will do is give your gimbal the freedom of another 20 degrees upward, which will really help you when you take the photo in the way I'm going to show you. So don't worry, you'll see all that in a second. Okay, that's all I need you to do there, so just click the top right again to close that window. You won't ever have to change those settings again, unless you want to, that is. But for now, they're set and they won't change unless you want them to. Right, last step is to go onto the right hand side above the shutter button, click on the photo icon, then pano, and then widescreen. What this setting will do is when you hit the shutter button to take a photo, it will actually take 9 pictures. Actually a 3x3 grid of pictures, so you end up capturing a massive part of the landscape, not just one photo. Okay, you're done with that. You're ready for takeoff if you haven't already. So let's get the Mini 2 up there and go take some photos. In this case, I'm flying out over some bushland not far from home towards a coastal inlet. It's not the most super exciting subject in the world, but it'll do just fine for the purposes of this demonstration. Once you're in a reasonable spot, you want to position the gimbal so the subject is roughly in the center of the frame. If you have the horizon either around center or just below center, that'll mean the extra gimbal angle you gave yourself earlier will be able to capture a good portion of the sky as well. And who doesn't like a good sky, right? Once you're happy with that, then hit the shutter button. What you'll see is the drone will reposition itself to take all 9 photos. So just sit tight and let the drone do its thing. The whole process takes about 10 seconds. Once you've done that, feel free to fly around, take a few more, experiment with the initial positioning of the drone to get a good angle, and bear in mind that this can be done with the drone and the gimbal at any starting point, even pointing down. Essentially what we're trying to do is capture a massive view of the direction we're pointing so we can crop the image down and focus in on the area we want for our finished image. You'll also notice that I'm shooting on auto settings. Now if you know a little bit more about photography and want to switch to manual mode and fiddle with your ISO, your exposure compensation, white balance and stuff like that, you can. But my aim here is to make it as simple as possible and still get some good results. And also note that all of the shots I showed you earlier are done on auto settings as well. And I know people will comment to say I should change this and adjust that, and I could, but hey, this is supposed to be about getting the shot as quickly and easily as possible, right? So guys, just quickly, if you're getting value out of this so far, it'd be awesome if you could smash that like button. And don't forget to hang around until the end where I give you 3 bonus tips as well. Now, the beauty of the Mini 2 is the battery life. Rated at 31 minutes in ideal conditions, you'll find you have more than enough time to get quite a few shots of different subjects and at different angles. So go ahead, fill your boots, as we'd say here in Aotearoa. Right, and now we're on to editing your photo into that banger that will make people go, wow. Or at least make them go, hey, that's pretty cool. So for this, you don't even have to take the SD card out of the drone. If you did and you've already transferred the pictures to your computer, you'll see that each of the individual pictures the drone took while in that pano mode have been saved separately. If you have the desktop version of software like Adobe Lightroom, for example, you can import them and stitch them together. However, as I said at the start, we're doing all of this on our phone. Now, one reason we turned on AutoSync HD photos is this, and it's a cracker. The DJI app has taken all of the separate pictures, stitched them together, and saved the complete image to the camera roll on your phone. How sweet is that? Now, bear in mind, this image is not as high resolution as it would be if you took the individual images from your SD card and stitched them together, but this is for social media, right? And the resolution of the image we will create is more than good enough for that. So just relax. So into the camera roll, find the panorama you want, and let's get to work. Now, I'm going to edit the image twice, just to show you what you can do. First of all, I'm going to edit it in the native iPhone Photos app, then in Lightroom Mobile. First up, the native iPhone Photos app. Find the picture and hit Edit. The first thing I do is adjust the horizon using the Crop Straighten tool, then decide where I'm going to send this photo. And for this one, I'm going to post it on Instagram Stories, which is a 9:16 aspect ratio. So I'll hit crop down here, select 9:16, and then size and position the frame to capture just the part of the image I want. And here we see the benefit of capturing not just one photo, but a series of 9 stitched together because it gives us so much more real estate to work with. Now once I've done that, then I go about adjusting some of the parameters like highlights, shadows, bring up the warmth a little bit. Then generally with most of the photos I do, I like to add a bit of a dark vignette, which helps guide the viewer's eye to the center of the frame. And to my eye, we're kind of done. If we compare to the original image, we can see that we've been able to lift it up a bit and it looks pretty good. So how fast was that? Easy peasy, lemon squeezy. Okay, now let's have a quick go in Lightroom Mobile. The process is pretty much the same, but you do have a few more tools to play with. So once I've selected the image I want to edit, I do the same thing. Select the 9:16 aspect ratio and then position the frame where I want. Play with the straightness to make sure the horizon is about right, and then I jump across to presets. Now these are quite handy, and they are essentially the parameters from previous edits that I've saved as a preset. So I'll have a look through those to see if any suit this particular image. I quite like this one, so let's go with that, and then we can tweak individual settings a little bit more from there. Like in color, I'm going to take the blue and just adjust the hue a little bit to make it a little bit more teal. It's kind of a look that I like. And then I go to light, bring up the shadows a little bit more, bring up the warmth a little. Again, very similar to the other edit we did before. Then throw a vignette on for good measure. And then if we compare to the original image, you can see again we've just given it a little bit more vibrance and life, and I really like the look of that. So we'll export it into our camera roll and we're ready to upload it to social media. So it really is as simple as that. It did seem like I went through lots of steps, but if you play this back and watch it again, you'll see that a lot of those steps are actually settings that you only have to change once and then never change again. So let me know in the comment section below if you think this was helpful for you, and I'd really love to see some of your photos as well. Now, I did promise you some extra tips on how to get the best results from your drone photos, so here you go. Number one, remember you're shooting in auto, so the time of day definitely makes a difference to the results you're going to get. The best times of day in my experience are the hour before and after sunrise and sunset, or if you are shooting during the day, probably in the middle of the day when the sun is highest. The reason for this is that if you're not going to make manual adjustments to your settings, you don't want to be facing directly into the sun when you're shooting, because it's going to blow out your image and it will be horribly overexposed in some areas and underexposed in others. However, if you are aware of where the sun rises and sets and you know the subject you want to shoot will have the sun behind the camera, in this case a flying camera, then that makes a big difference. So my point is, think about the time of day you're shooting in and whether it will suit your subject. My number two tip would be to turn grid lines on. Now these are found under the camera settings in the DJI Fly app, and I find that they help you compose your shot. For example, positioning points of interest in one of the thirds just helps make your shot look a little bit more interesting. And last but not least, number three, and this is more of a safety tip and less of a drone photography tip, and that is be aware of your surroundings and set your auto return to home altitude accordingly. If your controller loses connection with the drone, or if you lost track of where the drone is and you want it to come back, you can activate the return to home feature, or it will activate automatically. The drone will go to the auto return to home altitude that you've set in the app and head back home. The trouble is, if you're flying around buildings and other obstacles that are, for example, 80 meters high, but your return to home height is set at 60 meters, and if those obstacles are between you and the drone, it will fly into them. Because as awesome as it is, this drone doesn't have any obstacle avoidance features. So have a good look around where you're flying the drone and set the auto return to home altitude accordingly. The Mini 2 is a fantastic little drone, and there are so many things I love about it. So check out this video where I cover some of my top real-world reasons, some of which may surprise you. Or if you have the Mini 2 drone and are keen to get some accessories for it, check out this video where I show you my favorite add-ons you can get for your kit. Thanks guys, and I'll see you in the next video.